I got to give me a small swing to the left.
Well, good morning, y'all. I'm Dusty. This is Fox Holler Homestead, and you're watching Tower Crane Tuesday, where I talk a little bit about tower cranes, and just crane industry in general. But before I start, please make sure to hit that thumbs up. It helps our channel out immensely, and let's get to it. What I'm going to be talking about today is how weather affects tower cranes. Now, I'm in Washington State. It rains here a lot, and from what I've heard, whether it be in the Midwest or on the East Coast, when a construction site receives a ton of rain, a lot of times they'll shut down the project. That does not happen here. Very rarely, if ever, because of rain. Now, along with rain comes the potential of winds, the potential of lightning strikes, and that's what we're going to concentrate on first. Now, when it comes to lightning, we have very specific rules that we need to follow and go by. Now, being that I'm up in a tower crane, I'm in like this giant lightning rod. Now, with that being said, I do have a weather app that alerts me whenever there are lightning strikes within a 10-mile radius, or actually even farther than that. But the most important is that 10-mile radius. Now, OSHA says that if there are any lightning strikes within 10 miles, we need to shut the crane down and hoist up, pull the trolley all the way in, and then wait 30 minutes and monitor the weather. Now, like I said, I do have that weather app, and there's been multiple times where I've had lightning strikes within the 20-mile radius, and honestly, when it really comes down to it, it's going to be up to the operator on whether they feel comfortable or not. One of the important things that we should know about lightning and electricity in general and concerns to cranes is the number one killer of individuals that are working in, on, or around cranes is electricity. It's shock. Now, you'd be surprised. You would think that the operator would be the number one person that is at risk, and it's actually not. It's the individuals that are on the ground, that are close to the crane, they're close to the old man, they're close to the rigging, the hook, because electricity travels through the steel on the crane. It can travel through the wire rope. As far as myself, I'm up here in somewhat of an insulated cab. Now, with that being said, if there is a lightning storm, I will shut the crane down. I'll monitor that, make sure that it is out of my 10-mile radius. But if it does come into my 10-mile radius, we're done. Now, it's not completely done for the day, but I'm going to shut it down for half-hour increments, and I will report on those half-hour. And from that point forward, depending on how my readings have gone, how fast the storm is moving or staying in its specific spot, I will make that final call whether to shut the crane down for the rest of the day or not. But now we're on to wind. So wind can be real fun. I've been up here probably more times than I can count, where I've been winded out. The wind has gotten just so strong that I've had to shut the crane down. But again, there are OSHA standards, and there are operator comfortabilities. Now, in concern to OSHA standards, OSHA says you cease to climb after 20 miles an hour. Now, cranes are rated, depending on what kind of crane, they're rated for very specific winds, what they can and what they cannot operate in. This crane, I'm in a Terex 575. I think that the max is supposed to be about 48. It's between 45 and 48 miles an hour. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to run the crane or operate the crane in those wind speeds, but that's where it's flat out. That's where my LMI system starts throwing off alarms. The crane will shut itself down. It gets to that point. As far as my personal, I'm cutting it off, is when the winds get to 25 and above, and they're consistently 25 and above. Now, I can have wind gusts. Let's say my winds are 5 to 10, 15, 20 mile an hour, and every once in a while I'll get a 25 mile an hour gust in there. I just need to monitor the wind, and then also I'm very picky about what I will lift and what I won't lift. Anything heavy, I don't have a problem with, but light loads like 2x4s, anything that can pick up wind like panels, I cease to pick those items. Rebar, steel, anything concrete, anything heavy, I'll do that, but be cautious about it. But like I said, after 25 mile an hour, consistent 25 and above, I'm shutting the crane down. And then it just kind of goes back to the same, monitoring that for a half hour at a time, monitoring the wind, making sure that either the wind's staying consistent, which eventually will shut it down, or the winds continue to go back down, or they're going higher, etc., etc. I think this is about 6 months ago, I was in a windstorm, and it was the only time that I've ever been up here where I was actually afraid to get down. I was very nervous about being up here, and that was when my wind speeds had reached 57 miles an hour. Now, during that time, I had actually been monitoring the wind for probably about a half hour, 45 minutes, and it just had progressively started to get worse and worse until, until it got to the point where I started receiving these huge wind gusts, and the wind had stayed consistent. It was starting to get above 30 plus mile an hour, and that's when I shut the crane down. I was doing my paperwork, and that's when I hit the 57 mile an hour. Man, this thing moves a lot. Now, you would think, because I have the jib, and the jib goes, it's 262 feet out there, it's got lacings and it's all open, you would think that the wind blows right through it, but a 2 mile an hour wind can actually push this thing around. That's how well balanced it is. So when it hits 57, I tell you what, that was not fun. That was not fun at all. I could not wait to get back down on the ground. But that's pretty much that. As far as any other wind, or as far as any other weather, snow is going to be pretty much determined. Maybe my visibility that would shut it down for the time being, which hasn't ever happened. But the snow has been so hard down on the ground that it wasn't safe for the guys down on the ground. They will shut that down, but that doesn't have anything to do with me. It has been too hot because we're in Washington. We're not acclimated to really hot weather. We had a couple days this summer where we shut it down and where it reached 90 and above. I have an AC in here, so that really didn't affect me, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, one thing that we just had to do today, we haven't had rain in a really, really long time, and we've had a lot of forest fires in the generalized area. And man, looking outside right now, let me show you this real quick. You guys can probably see this, how thick that smoke is out there. Well, they have what's called an AQI. An AQI stands for Air Quality Index. Excuse me. And in Washington State, because of the forest fires, we have standards to go by. And those standards are, once it reaches 69 AQI, as far as the air quality, it's up to the employer or the contractor on the site to provide, to offer or consider offering masks to the employees. If it reaches over 101, then they are required to offer that. An employee doesn't have to take it. It's their personal option. But after 150, they have the option of basically, shutting down the site. You can go home. You can go home if you want. And it has been at this morning. It reached 208 for a quick second, and went back down to around 100. But it's been staying consistent at 157. So I've gotten to the point where the problem is I'm up in the sky. I'm getting a lot more smoke up here, and with that being said, I have this air conditioner back here, and this air conditioner, though it keeps me cool, it's pumping smoke into this cab, and it's slightly filtered, but it's getting to the point where it's giving me a headache. So I just got done doing my paperwork. I shut the crane down for the day. They shut down the site for the day, and we'll try again tomorrow. But hopefully all this information helped you guys out. Hopefully it answered some questions. Please, if you have any questions whatsoever, leave it in the comment section. I'll get right back to you. And until next time, I got nothing but love. nothing but blessings for all y'all and your families. And again, I'm Dusty. This is Fox Holler Homestead. You're watching Tower Crane Tuesday, which I do every week. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.